I was 36 when I met him on a late September evening in Seattle, when the air carried that quiet chill that makes you pull your sweater closer and think about the choices you have made in your life. I had just left the hospital after a 12-hour shift, my hair tied back in a loose knot, my feet aching, and my heart feeling heavier than it should for a woman who had built a life she once prayed for. I remember standing at the corner waiting for the light to change, watching the city glow in soft gold and blue, thinking about how lonely success can feel when there is no one at home waiting to hear about your day. I had been divorced for 3 years, by then long enough to heal on the outside, but still tender in places I did not talk about with anyone. He was standing beside me holding a paper cup of coffee, his sleeves rolled up, revealing strong forearms and a watch that looked worn but cared for. He glanced at me and smiled in a way that felt natural, not rehearsed, not hungry, just warm. "You look like you had a long day," he said. His voice was low, steady, the kind that settles into your chest. I laughed softly and said that obvious. He shrugged and said only to someone who knows that kind of tired. The light changed, but neither of us moved right away. It felt strange how easy it was to stand there with a stranger and feel seen. I told him I was a nurse, and he told me he owned a small construction company that specialized in restoring old homes. He said he liked bringing broken things back to life. There was something in the way he said it that made me look at him twice. He asked if I wanted to grab dinner at the diner across the street. Nothing fancy, he said, just food that reminds you of being a kid. I should have said no. I had laundry to fold and emails to answer, and a quiet apartment waiting for me. But something in me was tired of always choosing the safe, responsible option. So I said yes. We sat in a booth near the window. The place smelled like coffee and grilled onions and something sweet, baking in the back. We talked about simple things at first, where we grew up, how we both ended up in Seattle, how the rain makes you either fall in love with the city or run from it. He told me about his mother who raised 3 boys on her own, and how she taught him that strength is not about how loud you are, but how steady you remain when things fall apart. I told him about my marriage, how it slowly turned into 2 people living parallel lives under the same roof, how silence can be louder than shouting. He did not interrupt. He did not try to fix me. He just listened. When he walked me to my car later that night, he did not touch me right away. He stood close enough that I could feel the warmth of his body through my coat, close enough that I noticed the faint scent of cedar and soap. "I would like to see you again," he said. I felt a nervous flutter in my stomach, like I was 22 again, and had not yet learned how love can bruise. "I would like that," I answered. Our first real date was a week later. He picked me up in his truck and drove us out of the city toward the water. The sky was clear, and the moon hung low over the dark waves. We sat on the tailgate wrapped in a blanket he kept behind the seat. He brought takeout and a bottle of sparkling water, because I had mentioned that I no longer drank much. We talked about dreams, the kind you are almost embarrassed to admit. I told him I wanted to open a small clinic one day somewhere quiet where patients are treated like people, not numbers. He said he wanted to build a house from the ground up for the woman he loved, something solid and filled with light. When he looked at me, after saying that I felt the weight of his words settle gently between us, he brushed a strand of hair away from my face and his fingers lingered at my jaw. My breath caught, not because the gesture was bold, but because it was careful. He leaned in, slowly giving me time to pull away. I did not. Our first kiss was soft and unhurried. It tasted like mint and night air and possibility. His hand rested at my waist. Steady, firm, asking without forcing, I felt something inside me open. Not just desire, but trust. In the weeks that followed, we moved carefully, like 2 people aware of the fragility of what they were building. He would come over after work and help me cook dinner, rolling up his sleeves and chopping vegetables, while music played softly in the background. Sometimes we would dance in the kitchen, barefoot on the cool tile, laughing when we bumped into each other. He began leaving small things at my apartment, a toothbrush, a flannel shirt, a pair of boots by the door, Each item felt like a quiet promise. The first time he stayed the night, I was nervous. In a way that surprised me. I had been married. I was not new to sharing a bed. Yet this felt different because it was not about obligation or routine. It was about choice. We lay facing each other in the dim light from the street lamp outside. Our knees touched, then our hips. His hand traced slow circles on my back, learning the shape of me, like he was studying a map. He kissed my forehead, my cheek, the corner of my mouth. Each touch deliberate, unhurried. When his lips finally found mine again, the kiss deepened. Not rushed, not demanding, but certain. I felt my body respond with a warmth that spread from my chest, down to my fingertips. I slid my hand beneath his shirt, feeling the firm lines of his back, the steady rhythm of his breathing. There was no need for words. Our movements were guided by instinct and attention. He paid attention to every shift in my breath, every small sound that escaped me. When he held me closer, I felt safe, not consumed. When we came together, it was with a tenderness that made my eyes sting with unexpected tears. Afterward, we lay tangled in the sheets, his arm draped over my waist. His fingers traced lazy patterns on my skin, and I realized I was not afraid of the morning. I was not calculating how long this might last, or how badly it might hurt if it ended. I was simply there. One Sunday afternoon, we drove out to see one of the houses he was restoring. The place was old with peeling paint and creaking floors, but sunlight poured through the tall windows. He walked me from room to room, describing what it could become. Here a kitchen with open shelves, here a reading nook by the window, here a bedroom facing the trees. I watched him as he spoke, his hands moving through the air as if shaping the future. I saw not just a man who built houses, but a man who believed in rebuilding. He pulled me gently toward him in the empty living room, and kissed me again this time with a quiet urgency that made my knees weaken. The house echoed with the soft sounds of our laughter and our breathing, and for a moment, it felt like we were the only two people in the world. Loving him did not feel like falling. It felt like standing taller, like taking up space without apology. He encouraged my plans for the clinic, and even helped me draw up a budget at my kitchen table. He listened when I talked about my fears of failing again, and he shared his own doubts about not always being enough. We were not perfect. We argued sometimes about small things, about schedules, about the balance between independence and togetherness. But even in our disagreements, there was respect. There was the steady belief that we were on the same side. One night as we lay in bed, he traced a line down my arm and said, "I do not want to rush you, but I see a future with you." My heart pounded, but not with fear. This time it felt like recognition. "I see one too," I whispered. At 36, I had thought the most passionate parts of my life were behind me, that love was something you survive, rather than something that transforms you. But with him I learned that desire can be gentle, that strength can be soft, that intimacy is not just about bodies, but about choosing each other again and again.